What's going on, everybody? It is Tuesday, March 23rd, 2021. And like always, first and foremost, I give thanks, praise, and glory to our Father for blessing us with another day. So, it's been about 2 weeks since I've recorded. And I know one of those weeks, as I told you, when I was out in Missouri, I spent just trying to prepare for this trip by getting this fence done on time, and I haven't even videotaped the fence, and the back and the front, and then also as well, I remember now what else it was that I was doing. I was changing out the suspension on this Acura TSX that I have for sale, and then Friday, so not this past Friday, but the last Friday, we took off to Missouri. So that was before spring break. That was before my family went on spring break, and we went to Missouri and had a good time. Had a good family time. I purchased the Scion XB, and I'm really happy with this little XB. But so many things that I should have talked about, I didn't, and I'm going to play catch up, and I'm going to just try mentioning everything as fast as possible because I don't want to bore anybody. So I also should have given thanks to my friend Alonso Hernandez since a long time ago. I've known this guy since my son was 3 years old. My son is 17, about to turn 18 in April next month. And as you know what, I don't think I did mention this, but the Jeep Wrangler, it was for sale for the longest time, and I mean up until this day, it's still actually posted, but not a single person ever contacted me, at least not a single serious person. So I turned to Alonso, and he actually works at a dealership, and dealerships have what they use, these online auctions are getting very popular now. So they're only available to dealers, and what dealers are doing is listing the vehicles that they're unable to sell on these online auction pages. People or other dealers bid on them and they sell. So at first I was a little skeptical because we're talking about, a big amount of money. But fortunately, our Father looks out for me, and he put Alonso in my path again, and Alonso was kind enough to help me out. He listed the Jeep Wrangler. He was able to sell the Jeep Wrangler. I had to wait for about 2 weeks, so you can imagine that during that 2-week waiting period, it was a little grueling, waiting on a big amount of money like that. But fortunately, thank God that Alonso came through for me. He gave me the money for the sale of the Jeep Wrangler. We were able to pay off, a big amount of debt that we owed, and some of that money I went ahead and used as a down payment for this Scion XB. So that was actually 3 weeks ago, which I failed to mention, and I'm mentioning now. So the following week, which was before spring break, before March the 13th, it was a Friday, and I spent almost 2 hours down at the county office, tax office, just trying to get everything in order to make sure that I had permission to build the front and back fence in anticipation for going out of town. So it was a grueling process. Here in Texas, I didn't know this, but just in case you don't know, I'll mention it again. You actually don't need a permit out in the rural areas. I suppose anything having to do with the counties, the cities, that's a different matter. I can't speak on that. But as far as the counties, you're able to build the fence in the front and the back and the sides without any permits whatsoever. The only time that you do need a permit is when you're going to install an electric gate. So that's what I actually spent 2 hours doing, getting the subdivision, the name of the subdivision that this property is on, making sure that all taxes were paid, and just getting everything ready in anticipation for future electric gate installation. But nonetheless, I spent that previous Friday. I can't even give you a date now. But the following week, which is prior to spring break still, I went out, I got a contractor, he dug all the holes 3.5 feet deep. We got out, we built a wood fence in the front and then a chain link hurricane fence in the back. And it was a matter of getting all the materials, every single material, rounding up everybody who was actually going to install these fences. And fortunately, by Wednesday of the week prior to spring break, I was able to get that done. Thursday, I spent the whole day changing out the lower control arms, upper control arms, lower ball joints, sway bar end links, and inner and outer tie rod ends to the TSX. And I'm not even going to go into that because I actually started that the week prior, but I was making a mistake when I was trying to take out the inner tie rod ends on that Acura TSX. I was actually getting a hold of the actual rack and pinion rather than the inner tie rod end. And it wasn't until the following week when I finally was able to change out everything that I realized that I hadn't been able to do so because I was trying to take off the metal ends of the rack and pinion, which obviously aren't removable, right before the inner tie rod end. So I'm talking a little bit too much jargon that obviously you guys probably don't understand. But so when I started the fence the week prior to spring break, which is prior to March 13th, I had heard in the news that there was going to be a very bad winter storm that hits Colorado. So we had been planning this trip and we had been really wanting to get back to Colorado. It had been since 2015 that we went to Colorado. And we actually went during spring break of 2015, which was the March spring break week that Texas, lets their kids go. And, I said to myself, no, we'll be all right. It's only going to be Saturday and Sunday, and then the storm will pass. So we took off on, I believe it was Friday, March the 13th to Missouri. Things didn't go as planned at all. First of all, the rental that we reserved a whole 2 weeks prior, I reserved it for 1 o'clock that Friday, and which was March the 13th, and or was it March the 12th, March the 14th, somewhere around there. I can't go back and look at the dates. I'm already recording this video, but you guys get the idea. So I rented this vehicle, this van, 2 weeks prior for a 1 o'clock appointment, 1 o'clock pickup. Upon my family getting out of school, they get out obviously at 3 o'clock. We were just gonna all load up and head to Missouri, Cape Girardeau, Missouri, to the Toyota out there. So we go to McAllen, which is an hour away from where I'm at. And first of all, the woman, I called the day prior. I spoke to a manager, and the manager tells me, oh yeah, no problem, you can pick it up at whatever time. So we get there at 10 o'clock in the morning, 10 a.m. And the manager who was there, they told me, no, we can't do that. I don't know why they told you. I'm a manager and I'm higher than that person that you spoke to. I cannot release the vehicle to you. So we actually had to wait over there in McAllen for about 3 hours. Finally, when it was closer to 1 o'clock, I got there and I said, okay, can we pick up our vehicle now? They said, okay, yeah, you can go ahead and pick it up. So they asked me, are you going out of state? And naturally, I have to be honest. So I told them, yes, we're going out of state. Oh, well, this particular car rental is a franchise, and each franchise sets their own rules. We don't allow our vehicles to go out of state. So we waited around 3 hours after they had told us that we could pick it up at 10 a.m. and only to find out that we were unable to take this vehicle or use this vehicle. So we come home, and at that point I'm like, man, what are we gonna do? Fortunately, my aunt from San Antonio, my tia from San Antonio, she actually just purchased a new vehicle, and she was going with us in this trip. She was kind enough to take us all to Missouri in her new vehicle. So here we are, 7 people crowded into a Hyundai Santa Fe. And you can imagine, fortunately, we drove 16 hours straight. We actually did take off around 1 o'clock p.m. and We drove 16 and a half hours straight to Cape Girardeau, Missouri. We get there in the morning. I believe it was like 7, 8 o'clock. I'm not exactly too sure. But we pull up to the Toyota, and a mistake I made was not getting footage. And we get there. I see the Scion, beautiful. It checks out, and fortunately everything was pretty smooth. I just signed the paperwork, and less than an hour I was out of there. So we rented that cabin there at the Mark Twain Lodge in Alton, Missouri, and I made a video. I'll go ahead and attach that as well. It was very nice. So that was a Saturday. It was either March 14th, 15th, one of those days. So the following day we wake up Sunday and we take off. You know what? I forget to mention, and I do have footage of this. We went to St. Louis to pick up a Thule or fuel bike rack for the Scion. The Scion needs that in order to complete the look, because otherwise it looks completely like a box. So we got to see the St. Louis Gateway Arch, and we took off from the Mark Twain Lodge at 5 in the morning to get to St. Louis at 8 o'clock. And I want to give a shout out. It completely slips my mind of the person who sold it to me, but thank you so much. You gave me a discount, and you even put on the rack on the Scion for me. So it was 8 o'clock. The new rack was on the Scion. We saw the St. Louis Gateway Arch, and we take off straight to Kansas. So it was a 9-hour drive. We ended up in Waukegan, Kansas, and we spent the night there at a Best Western. So the following day, obviously, it was Monday, and according to forecast reports, the storm was already over. Unfortunately, I-70 into Colorado was shut down, and it would actually remain shut down all of Monday, possibly Tuesday. I didn't bother looking, but Monday morning we wake up in anticipation to head into Colorado to go see Garden of the Gods, and just enjoy all the scenery, something we hadn't seen in 6 years. And now we had my parents with me and my tia. Well, I-70 shut down, so you can imagine I felt like shit. And one of the things that I did get from this was a learning lesson. God reports had told me a week prior that Colorado was going to get a really bad storm, and yet I wasn't following God's plan. Obviously, a lot of people weren't aware of this storm. I saw the news reports. This was God speaking to me, and yet I went against His plan. So lo and behold, it's always going to be God's plan and not my own. So Monday morning, as you already know, I-70 shut down. Colorado's received the 4th worst winter storm in their history. So at that point, we had nothing to do but just drive straight down back home. So it was a learning lesson for me that when these signs come to you, don't try to go against it. Just follow the plan. Follow whatever it is that has already spoken to you, has already made you aware ahead of time. I was a little bit repentful because instead of going left from Missouri, we could have gone right. We could have gone to see the Smoky Mountains, seen that treetop walkway. But oh well, it was a learning lesson for me. And fortunately, the trip overall was great. The Scion made it home safely, and it was another thing that I learned. So here we are, Tuesday, and it's funny because during the trip I actually lost weight. A couple of weeks ago I was at 210, and finally I made it down to 200. One of the things that was holding me back from losing weight was that Starbucks coffee creamer. Man, that stuff is fattening. It is extremely delicious, but it is super fattening. So I was stuck at 205 for weeks and weeks. As soon as I cut it off, I was able to get down to 203, and in this trip I actually got down to 200. But we got back on a Tuesday of last week. I don't know the date, obviously during spring break. And man, I just gave in to eating Whataburger. I hadn't eaten Whataburger. I hadn't eaten Chick-fil-A. I hadn't eaten, a bunch of, sweet stuff that I wanted to eat. And even up until yesterday, I ate chocolate cake and ice cream. But I'm back with it today. This morning, we jogged about 3 miles, and we're back home, and we're starting with our routine. I need to finish teacher's alternative certification, and what else am I busy with? The businesses. Fortunately, the software engineer, according to him, says that by the 28th, which is soon, this will be ready. So I'll be talking more about that and reaching out to everybody on that. But for right now, I'm just grateful to finally make another video and just to give an update of what's going on and what I'm trying to do. I still haven't forgotten everybody. So guys, sorry for speaking a little bit fast, but I just don't want to bore anybody. I hope everybody's doing great. Y'all have a good day.